Alright, hi guys. So this week we are working with contrasting colors, and hopefully you took a look at the slides that came before this one, and you learned that contrast just means that you're putting two things that are opposite one another together to emphasize their differences. So when we're talking about colors that are opposite of one another, we're talking about colors that are opposite one another on the color wheel. So orange and blue are opposite one another on the color wheel. And because they're opposites, they emphasize each other's differences. For example, blue is a cool color, orange is a really warm color. Blue is kind of a darker, more muted color. Orange is really bright and vibrant, okay? So putting these two things beside one another really emphasizes all of their great differences and the unique things about each different color. So for your contrasting colors this week, you could choose to do orange and blue, you could choose to do red and green, or you could choose to do yellow and purple. All of those colors are opposite one another on the color wheel. So obviously this week you have a lot of choice. You could do any artwork that you really want to do with these contrasting colors. The contrasting colors are the important thing to remember about your project this week. You could draw something, you could sculpt something, you could paint something, you could cut something out. But if you're looking for an idea for a project this week using contrasting colors, I'm going to show you a project that I'm going to do today. And I have chosen orange and blue as my contrasting colors. And I have two different types of orange paper right here. I have kind of a lighter orange, and then I have a brighter, darker orange. And then I have my blue, okay? So if you're wanting to be inspired and create a work of art kind of similar to mine, you'll need a couple of things. One, you'll need something to draw on the paper or outline with. And if you don't have colored construction paper at home, you could always color a sheet of paper. One of your contrasting colors could be your background color. You're shading in that whole paper, that color. And then for the leaves, we're going to be making a tree. For the leaves, you can color a white piece of paper in the opposite color that you chose for your background and then cut those out. But you'll need something to trace around those objects. So for today, I've chosen a white oil pastel. You could also use like a white paint pen. You could use a white crayon. You could use black markers, anything that stands out on your paper. So if I'm working on a blue paper, I probably wouldn't choose like a blue marker as my outline, for example. I want something a little bit different. And personally, I want to pair my two contrasting colors. I really want the focus to be on these colors, so I chose a neutral color for my outline, like white or black, okay? I'm going to start on my colors that I want to be the leaves of my tree. And of course, you could do this with a bunch of different objects. It doesn't have to be a tree. But for today, I'm gonna be doing a tree. So I'm gonna draw a bunch of leaves with my white outline on my orange pieces of paper. And this is why I chose to do two different shades of that orange so that I would have a little bit of variety in my artwork. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on my light orange piece of paper. So I'm just drawing a bunch of different leaves. So now I feel like I have a good amount of leaves. The next thing I'm gonna need is a pair of scissors because I'm gonna be cutting these leaves out of each of my colored pieces of paper. If you are using a white piece of paper and just coloring, obviously you don't have to color in the whole paper orange if you're just doing several leaves. You could go ahead, excuse me, you could go ahead and outline those leaves with a pencil, color in those pencil areas in your color that you choose, and then cut it out, and that would be just perfect. Okay, so I know you guys are in 4th grade and you know this, but it bears repeating that anytime we use scissors, we're making sure that we're holding the paper away from our scissors. So if I'm cutting out a leaf, I'm not cutting it like towards my fingers like this because I might slip, I might cut my finger open. That would be really sad. I also don't want to cut towards my body because again, I might slip and hurt myself. We don't want that. So we're being really safe with the scissors. You can see I'm holding it really far away from my scissors and I'm cutting away from my body. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut all of these leaves out and I'll see you guys when I've done that. All right, so now that I'm done cutting out all of my leaves, I'm going to need a glue stick to glue all of them down. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the trunk of my tree on my paper. And this is why that I suggested that you use a neutral color or something that would show up really well on your colored piece of paper or on the paper you already drew on, okay? So I'm gonna start up here and I'm gonna make my trunk. Maybe it's got a branch right here going off the page. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to start gluing down my leaves, and then I also drew a little squirrel and a little acorn for the squirrel to eat. So if you want to add some things to your tree, like I said, like fruit or different little animals living around your tree, that would be really fun too. Just remember, we're not using this week whatever colors we want. It's got to be a shade of one of our two contrasting colors. So I used a light orange and a dark orange. Those are shades of orange. I could have used a light blue too if I had a light blue paper. All right, so I'm using a glue stick. I'm not putting a ton of glue on the back of my leaves, but enough so that I know it's going to stick really well on my paper. And I think for this one, I'm going to try to make some of the leaves go off the edge of my paper because I think that looks really cool. So to do that, I'm just putting glue on the back half of my leaf and just gluing it to the edge of my paper. And I am kind of grouping some of these leaves together, light, some dark ones, until my tree looks pretty full. Now you could make your tree super full if you want to take the time to cut out a lot of these leaves. That would be pretty cool. If your tree was really full and the whole top was kind of fluffy around the edge, that would be really awesome. And then I think I'll have the acorn kind of hanging up here out of his way. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun deciding what you want to make with your contrasting colors this week. Just a reminder, you can use any colors that are across from one another on the color wheel because those are opposites. They're going to bring out all the qualities that are different about each other when you place them next to one another. Now, you don't have to do a tree like mine, but if you do, I hope you have a lot of fun kind of personalizing it, making it your own. If you want to do another type of artwork, just make sure you're choosing those contrasting colors to show a lot of contrast in your work. That's important this week. So I hope you guys have so much fun. We can't wait to see what you come up with and make and share with us. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.